Welcome my friends, this is Maniacal Incorporated. On the last episode, Eoin Latheirt briefly returned to Wessex to deal with some theological problems, and on arriving again in France, he is faced with even more theological problems. He is heading south to the court of the Emperor Charles the Bold, whose health is poor and whose grandson and heir is a heretic. And what absolutely terrible timing. Just as Eoin arrives at the court of the Emperor, he has died of old age. And indeed, the Empire is now in the hands of heresy. What a situation for Eoin to find himself in 20 years after fleeing Ireland to escape from the Viking attacks on his homeland. There isn't a huge amount that he can do at the moment. He will not be granted an audience with the Emperor, and so instead he's gone adventuring around Paris to see if there are any contracts. Unfortunately, these two stewardship contracts are probably the best that we can do. And while we're here, we might as well go and mingle at the tavern with some locals. We have a lot of money to our name, and we might as well use that to gain some Hastelauder wit experience. And we might as well also look to recruit some new followers. We haven't done this in quite a while, and considering that we now find ourselves amongst heretics, we must think like them. Here is a giant witch who we can hire for 66 gold. That's not too shabby. And there she is in the uniform of the Irish Rovers, and she may just have arrived in our camp, but you know what? We're going to organize a marriage between her, a matrilineal marriage between her and Flaherty. Might get some giant babies. Our two stewardship tasks are quite a bit away from the capital, where the funeral procession for the Emperor is currently being carried out. We're going to head north, first of all, back to Normandy, back to the court of Duke Dag, who this time wants us to raise a 2-story building. As we arrive, we have just gotten ill from some mouldy bread. We have a difficult enough looking task. We could stick in a ton of planners. Is there anybody that does well on spy craftery? I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. We already have a -11 to the success chance. Let's just get on with the task. And before doing so, we will get our physician, Giat, to see if he can lessen the symptoms. We're feeling a bit brighter. That's mighty work. We've managed to put together a solid enough work crew, with our new addition serving as bailiff. And we've also just managed to improve our supply tent. I was going to improve the pavilion, but what I'm going to do instead is on the barber's tent, I'm going to add, I like the mortician's tools. You gain money for any battles that end in the county of your camp. So if we could find a battle zone, or follow a crusade or something like that. But what I'm going to go for instead is the reference corpus. Small health boost, but mostly for the monthly learning lifestyle experience. And we've only been here a short while, but we've already managed to get up to the 86%. We will try and execute the scheme. Seize the moment. And it is a success. Along the way, we manage to convert some locals to insularism. As we return back to the capital, we're going to head out straight away to a Prince Bishop. Not as much money as there is for a level 2 building, but we're going to travel out and maybe even converse with him and see what worries he now has, considering, like I said, that the Empire has fallen to heresy. More converts. We've recovered from our illness. We'll continue on with the task, as we're in a position to get together some pretty solid construction teams at the moment. 94% chance of success, and it's only taking us about 11 days to get through each phase, which is going to really speed up the length of time it takes us to complete these tasks, or really shorten the length of time it takes us to complete these tasks. And as we are putting together some buildings, we are told of the death of the Jarl of Holland from his wounds. So I'm not too sure what battles he was fighting, but we can see that now Munster has been inherited by one of his sons. It is in a very weakened position, ripe to be attacked by the High King of Ireland, Eoin Latheirt. However, his health is poor, and currently he is under attack from Connacht, yet he has a 21% advantage, even though Connacht has actually managed to siege down Breffni. He has decimated Connacht's armies. Once he lifts that siege, he should be quite easily able to defeat Connacht and restore stability to the High Kingship. This is just after his war against Flanchina, after which he had him captured and executed. And he might entirely, possibly next, move to consolidate power in Munster. So good news in Ireland, and hopefully it's going to be good news for Eoin, as he raises another building, this time for the Prince Bishop. 43 gold, not too shabby. It's enough to keep us paid and in the good books of the church. Now, to the south of Paris, we see a rather interesting task, a criminal contract to flog some talismans. What we're going to do is we're going to move the court, and by the court I mean move the camp to Anjou. We're going to try and gain an audience with the Duke. On our way to Anjou, however, we are stopped by a knight who tells us that he is searching for a marvellous fountain which can cure all illness. We're not really all that trusting of him, but Adela tells us that she knows this knight. It's Savray. Well then, lead the way. And we do indeed arrive at a fountain. It is being guarded by a stag. There's not much we can do but try and provide a distraction, which works. Savray has found the healing water and has joined our camp. Now, why I wanted to meet with the Duke is because he is the Emperor's spymaster. He has only about a quarter of the troops of the Emperor, but he is one of the major powers in the region, and he has been very, very bold. So we're going to try and offer him salvation by converting to insularism. Wessex was where Eoin thought he was most needed. Converting Wessex to insularism and bringing Canterbury into the insular faith. He has found a new task, and that is saving the soul of the Frankish Empire. Or at least the western bit, anyway. We're up to 100%. Guaranteed. And we will convert. And while we're waiting for that conversion, we're going to head eastwards. Have you an eye for the true value of Catholic rarities? The Count offers fair payment if the goods are genuine. So if we succeed, we get paid 103 gold, but he loses 60 opinion. And if we fail, there's lots of penalties. Let's head in this direction first of all. And there we go, to the thoughtful Master Eoin of the Irish Rovers. I have decided to follow you into the light and convert to insularism. Now you have to stop that bold behaviour as well. You can't be at that anymore. Speaking of bold behaviour, Giat the Bearded has gotten himself hungover. We'll slow down the horses for him. So indeed it looks like Eoin is going to try and flog some trinkets to Count Charles. A small carved stone of blue-green hue, good for gout. Quite the range you have here, Eoin. 2 thieves, I think I already know who they're going to be. And one person we're not going to be able to appoint is Foilgus, who has been ill with a while and has died of heart failure. And I'm actually kind of surprised. I thought that we would have the husband and wife team of Flaherty and Adela as our 2 thieves, but instead we have Eustace the Heathen as our second thief. Look at that, 42 points he's contributing. We're going to get 100% of a success chance to hawk some baubles onto this count. Hawk baubles. Foelgus was serving as our caravan master, so we need to replace him, and Adela de Villiers looks to be, well, she's good, but we have our personal physician and quartermaster. Like I said, I don't like to load too much work onto them. And here's a rather interesting update to receive. All of a sudden, the Irish culture has forsaken the polygamous tradition. I'm not too sure if that was maybe a request that was put in from the Pope. But there we go. The Irish no longer have polygamy. So maybe A was looking for an easy divorce. Maybe he was sick of some of his wives. To the south of our position, we can see a large French army, the entire forces of the Emperor fighting Brittany. The Emperor has just declared war to vassalize the region, just as we have completed our goal, or gotten up to 100%. Now, we don't actually have the ability to execute the scheme at the moment, so we're going to need to hang around in the court for a little longer to get up to the 5 advantages that we need, but we have managed to unlock another stewardship lifestyle. We're going to go for see how it's done, visiting a point of interest, awards 20 gold. We visited most of the ones in this region, but there's a few more that we can go to. I think we're still learning, or earning, a small bit of learning experience, so I do plan to switch back to this at some stage, but for now, I think we'll continue on in this direction. We'll become an architect. Considering all the buildings we put up, we should be an architect already. And so we're up to our 5 advantages. We have a 100% success chance. And our time here is immensely profitable. Trading with Count Charles, tacit seal of approval, lends a legitimacy to our stock that all the fast talking in the world couldn't achieve. Talismans, medicines, baubles, and gewgaws. Courtiers and guests buy them all, no questions asked. Not yet, at least. We have a long path ahead of us, and we'd better start on it, not till we get caught. Doing that has now opened up the gallows bait trait, which is going to give us a legitimacy loss, oh no, and opinion of gallows bait characters. I think Adela is actually a gallows bait as well, or has this trait. And there's a couple of different paths. We're going down Trickster, which would actually, if we get to level 1, give us some extra diplomacy. Now, unfortunately, on returning to the capital of Anjou, we don't find any contracts that would be great for us. So we're going to move the court again, and this time we're going to visit a temple. And it was a good move because the town crier here has 2 learning contracts for Owen. One of which will actually send him right back to where he just came from. We will return to solicit charity to the Duke. So having converted the Duke to insularism, we're now back to beg from him. While Owen is hawking baubles and begging for charity, the Frankish Emperor has gone on a major expansionist campaign. He has secured the vassalization of Brittany, and with substantial holdings in the north of England and Wales, he is now attempting to subjugate Jorvik, which would threaten Wessex. However, he's also facing some problems. His new vassal, the King of Brittany, is attempting to push the claim of the Emperor's cousin, Princess Judith, a granddaughter of Charles the Bold and the wife of the Duke of Flanders. So already his heretical beliefs are causing him problems, and Owen is convinced that it will be his conversion to insularism, not deposing him, but converting him, which will bring peace to this region. That is, of course, if he actually manages to survive. We can see that a massive force has descended upon Paris. He's doing fairly poorly in his 2 wars at the moment, and I don't think we'll be getting a chance to convert him. More importantly, however, we have managed to get up to 100% in our attempts to beg for money. We've converted you to insularism. We've saved you from the same faith as the Emperor. He might have tempted you, as a high-ranking member of his court, to convert to his heretical beliefs. And we pray to God And reluctantly, he hands over some money. Thank you. Now it does look as though the Emperor has bitten off more than he can chew, and it's unlikely that there'll be anything left for Eoin to try and convert. He's faced with a massive alliance against him. However, there is still the problem of the regions down here that have converted wholesale, and Eoin might very well push down into Aquitaine and try and fix that issue. For now, however, we're actually going to visit a nearby court. I don't think he's returned just yet. We're going to visit this court to see if we could find some secrets and to see what our intrigue skills are like. This is something that Eoin hasn't tested as yet. "You look confounded, adventurer," comes a whisper from the shadows. "Are you really suited for this task? What we need is someone vigilant, cautious, subtle." I mean, come on, look at him. He's dressed to hide in the shadows. Nobody's going to see him. This is the spymaster of the Emperor. And we will begin planning a breakout, so we're trying to find some secrets against the Duke. And rather interestingly, one of the best figures that we have, Flaherty, is absolutely terrified of the Duke. He's not as terrified of us, and so he is not willing to take part in this operation. But who needs him? Because we are actually in a position to recruit other members of the court. Here is the Count of Maine. He's a vassal in the Empire. And here is the Duke's caravan master. We could convince her to join, so we actually have a fairly hefty list of people to recruit from. Flaherty, we don't need you. After all that, we have recruited 2 members of the Duke's court. We have the best possible chance of succeeding, but not a great chance. And there is the pop-up. The High King of Ireland, Eoin Latheirt, has drank himself to death. The new High King of Ireland is Clerkin Mac Murcha of the Ivruin Shola, a Connacht branch of the family. And he finds himself now in 3 major wars. No wonder A drank himself to death. Leinster is attempting to seize the new capital, Thomond, which Eoin Latheirt took from Holland. He's involved in a Scottish civil war. Kirkin is rebelling against the rule of A. MacAlpin. And he also finds himself in a war against Connacht. The poor devils, they're making another attempt to take Breffni. Now, he doesn't exactly have a great army, and he doesn't have any alliances to call in. Clerkin, when we finish spying on people, we'll pray for you. First, however, I think we'll need to pray for ourselves. We only have a 69% chance of finding some secrets about the Duke. And I think we've had a success. We have. My liege is satisfied with the insights that we've gleaned. You found what? Oh, no small feat. How did you get here unnoticed? Look at me. I'm perfectly dressed for this. I'll simply take the gold. Try not to think about this. So, 44 gold. We return to our camp in Orléans. We could try to convert the ruler. However, he is in poor health. His heir is 72 years of age and in poor health, and his heir is way up in this region, so it's a lengthy chain of succession. I think what we're going to do instead is we are going to move our camp back to the court of the ruler that we just did some skullduggery for. And I thought we might need to use the hook that we were just granted on him, but we have no need. And instead we can convince him quite easily to accept insularism. He has followed us into the light of insular Christianity as we make another hop north. And we're told that our level of fame is now widely known, and we actually have our first event that we could join. There is a grand tournament going on in some direction. Well, the first thing we will do is bring another wayward soul into Insular Christianity. And it is only by replacing our caravan master and appointing some mercenary guards that we will actually make it all the ways down to Italy in time. And it is only by changing our caravan master that I can make it down to the north of Italy in time. I have changed the route ever so slightly on the way down. I'm taking a tiny detour now that I can make it on time. And afterwards, we're heading for Venice. We're heading for Ravenna. We're coming back through Genoa and then up into, I think, the capital of Aquitaine, if I'm correct. And returning home, it's going to be a lengthy journey, and I have no doubt that the political situation in France will have changed dramatically by the time that we return. So there is the first of many converts as we travel through Anjou down into Italy, down into the Kingdom of Italy. We've entered Lothringia, bringing many souls into the insular faith. Travelling to the capital of the Kingdom of Italy, we have gained 200 diplomacy lifestyle experience and 20 gold because of one of the stewardship traits that we got. And we're told that we're on course to qualify for the recital contest. We meet the Duke, as the Count of Ferrara, and we tell him that we can't wait for this to start. I don't think Eoin could have possibly imagined that this is how he would first see Italy on his way to a tournament. We have a lot of different options, and we're guaranteed to qualify, so what I think we'll do is go to the artisan quarters. We do have a lot of money to our name. And we're going to ask one of the artisans to add some decoration to one of our books, which will give us some extra prestige. The recital contest begins. Eoin is hurriedly writing down his best jokes. Let's see about placing a bet. Let's see who the main contenders are. Now we're actually told that we are the recital favourite, Master Eoin. 4-1 on Master Eoin of the Irish Rovers. But unfortunately we can't bet on ourselves, and we will gain stress if we bet against ourselves. So we'll have to take 15 stress to bet on Bernard. The crowd hollers and cheers as I complete my latest recital, a piece designed to target Eberhard's honour, who just so happens to be a Prince of Italy and heir to the Kingdom of Italy. And we show all how much greater my wit truly is. We could leave it at that, or we could dramatically increase our score. Night begins to fall on the scene, but torches light the competition as it continues. I step forward to take my turn, ascending the steps on the dais. It is time for the final verse, and we will, of course, devote it to God and appeal to a higher power. And as Eoin tries to finish the final verse, he is unable to, as the cheers drowned out his words, flowers landing around him on the stage. Eoin is winning. Victory is so close. And to thunderous applause, trumpets sound, the crowd clamours, competitors begin to assemble. Eoin has won the recital competition, just ahead of Master Refill, the brute. We did unfortunately lose the 5 quid that we bet on Bernard, but we've gained 50. And at the conclusion of the tournament, Eoin has won a prize brooch, 15% fertility. That was, yeah, that was worth the transit to Italy alone. And you can see that we have gained 22 trait experience in Hastelauder, so all of those stories that Eoin listened to and paid the tellers at the various taverns throughout Ireland and England and France, they have won him a tournament in Italy. Eoin has departed victorious from the tournament. He has travelled to Venice, where he has managed to put together enough stewardship experience to gain another lifestyle perk. I think what we're going to go for is golden obligations, which will allow him to demand payment for hooks. And of course, he is receiving many hooks for the good work that he is doing in fulfilling contracts. So I'm going to take golden obligations, and I think we might very well return to Saga City and try and finish off Scholar. We travel through the Kingdom of Aquitaine, we gain some learning lifestyle experience, we return from our triumphant tournament participation, we gain another learning lifestyle perk. We're just working our way through Scholar, so we'll go for Strength in Diversity. We have a plethora of people converted to Insularism, and he's still holding on, but I think the days of the Emperor are numbered. Now, I'm not surprised, but I am disappointed. Since we left, the Duke of Anjou has converted to the Cathar heresy at a rather bad point in time, I have to say. But not alone did we fail to stop him from conducting in his evil ways, but he's gone off and become an adulterer. Eoin has lifted his camp and has begun to move south in an attempt to get to the court of the heir to Anjou and possibly bring him into the insular faith. We are travelling through the lands of Count Bouchard, who we converted and who we completed a quest for, or a mission, and we've been attacked by bandits in his county, and he is not sending any help to us. We could either leave Thungol behind to die, or we could stand as one, a 44% chance that Eoin will die. We have managed to escape unscathed. What a disappointment Anjou and its vassals have been to us. We arrive in Auxerre. We're going to go fast and go silently as we try to gain some provisions. We may end up paying 10 gold to Hugo, and we do indeed. We do, however, in this region have a couple of tasks that we can complete. Here's a brand new one: Silence Missionaries, right where we have landed. Cathar missionaries haunt Catholic communities. We seek a skilled negotiator or an intimidating thug to deal with these heathens. We will answer the call. Oh boys, he's not going to be negotiating with nobody. A delegation of faithful Catholics visits Eoin's camp and tells him that the Cathar Bishop Tekla has been sent by the Duke of Anjou to convert them in Count Hugo's name. In God's save us, they call. And Eoin is going to take his converting stick. We have lost all faith in the Duke of Anjou. We're going to take our converting stick and visit the bishop, the fornicator bishop who has taken a caravan master as her lover. We will halt her directly. Eoin and Hugo arrive in Auxerre. They travel to a Catholic church which they find defiled by Bishop Tekla, ransacked, the cross desecrated. Eoin, however, is he a bit foolish? He believed that he could convert the Duke of Anjou. He believed even for a time that he could convert the Frankish Emperor. However, he believes, even though she is a fornicator, that he can reason with the bishop. We manage to negotiate peaceful coexistence. So, integration is lost. We have completed the contract. Now, Hugo has managed to stop one conversion attempt. However, another is about to begin. We could use that hook to get money from him. Instead, we're going to use it to try and force his conversion to insularism. We will extol God's benevolence. We can probably use St. Patrick's tongue, and you know what? We have a lot of them. We will distribute some alms. Now as we're here, we're going to go and look for new contracts, and fortunately in Auxerre the town crier has some scholarly work for us. And while we're here, we will travel to the tavern to celebrate our recent victory in Italy. We'll hand out some money and gain some more Hastelauder wit trait. And we have some absolutely staggering contracts in this area. Okay, we have one staggering contract in this area. We're going to start here with the transcribed texts, which I think will be the first time that I'll actually do one of these. However, there is a level 3 create work of learning in the Kingdom of Lothringen. That's where we're going to be heading for next, if that task is still there, considering this one is right here. We might as well take it. Another task from Count Hugo, who we are hoping will convert to insularism before this task is actually completed. And as we're transcribing this text, we are fairly bored. I trace an ink-stained finger along a tiny knight straddling a magnificent snail in the margins. People still aren't too sure why the medieval writers used to put so many snails in the margins of texts in this time period. Maybe I should improve the text just a bit to make it more enticing. And our option is we could embellish this just a smidge. And we have done so. A successful transcription. And what did we transcribe in the text? I was going to save this for maybe the level 3 task that we have over here, or maybe for a transcribe task or create work if one popped up in, well, more down around the southern region. But we have no doubt inscribed our own surname, Latheirt, if I'm actually getting that correct. And there is indeed a book from the 9th century which bears in Ogham script the word Latheirt. Now, it's not a surname, however. It has been transcribed, or translated variously as Ale Killed Us, or Death by Ale. Basically, hungover. So, please do keep in your thoughts and prayers the poor Irish monk who had a bit too much to drink and then had to get up the next day and learn, I think it was Latin grammar. The interesting thing about that book is that it was actually kept in the possession of somebody who was associated with the abbey in Reichenau. And that is where another text was transcribed and some more Irish was put into it, and that was the poem that references Pangur Bón, Misha Agus Pangur Bón, which was written by another Irish monk in this time period as well. So in the 9th century, quite a number of Irish monks fleeing the chaos of the Viking raids in Ireland ended up in Europe, especially establishing churches and monasteries and religious facilities in Central Europe, in Germany. But in St. Gallen and Reichenau, they ended up adding Ogham and adding Old Irish to a number of texts, just as Eoin Latheirt has done here today. And unfortunately, we have failed in our bid, so it's not a total victory. He has not been impressed by our transcription of our own surname in Ogham script into a book. We have failed to convert the heir to the Duchy of Anjou. We find another text with hounds with human faces in the margins. This time we're going to add a poem about a cat. And finally, we're in a position we could go for an 85% chance of a +3 or a 3% chance of gaining some learning, but you know what? We will learn or draw from our military experience to get a simple +2. Hugo flips through the pages, an intrigued look on his face. Well, this manuscript is certainly more interesting than I remember. He hands over the script to his attendant. Study this, and let us reconvene in the evening. He'll give us 62 gold, but he will not give us his soul. France has been a worrying mess. The Emperor is losing 2 wars quite heavily. He's done practically no damage to the forces arrayed against him. We are going to depart for the Kingdom of Lothringia. This is going to be a tough one. It's a level 3. And as we travel, we can see the unfortunate situation in Ireland. Claercan has lost Thomond to Leinster. He still retains the High Kingship. However, he is now defending against Dublin's attempts to take Oriel, to take Armagh itself, the seat of Insular Christianity in Ireland. And it's actually a good thing that we're getting out of Anjou, because the Duke considers us to be a criminal. As we're fleeing for safety, we are stopped by a knight-errant who wants us to try and search for a marvellous fountain which can cure all illness. Adela says that she knows the man, so we could try and stop with him, or we could try and get Adela to make him see reason. He is a good martial figure with prowess, and we need men like this to defend us if we are to survive our escape. Having escaped from Anjou, Owen is going to set to work on a manuscript for the King of Lothringia. It's a level 3 challenge, the hardest that Owen will have undertaken yet. However, I think he's going to push himself to create an exhaustive work. Things have not gone well for him in France, and he needs a victory. Now, the king wants a scripture pertaining to social skills. We actually have a 96% chance. So we'll start with that. We have a terrific chapter. We have an 83% chance, which we'd better take now, to add something about our various travels. It's starting to get a bit tougher. It's 88 for another diplomacy challenge. Do you know what? We'll try it. And we now have an 83 for the learning. It's down to 62. We'll try and dazzle them with our tournament-winning wits. And I think this is the last one. It's all down to the last one. It's a 79 for our wits or social skills. Do you know what? There's more of a reward, and considering it's the same challenge, it's a 5 out of 5. And it is in these trying circumstances, pushed to the very limit, that Owen creates his greatest work. The king softly applauds. He likes the piece in the marginalia. Maybe we put our name in there again. I proudly stretch and nod. One additional wonder in the world. 176 gold. A hefty amount of provisions to replace those that we spent on our escape from Anjou. And we have a contract with him. Now, we are actually making our way back into Anjou, so we're going to have to lift our camp rapidly and get out of there. It's just a rapid hop and a skip over the border. While we're here, we will visit the castle holdings. And let's see if the town crier has anything good for us. A couple of stewardship contracts. Better than nothing. I think it's quite clear that the Cathar menace is on the verge of collapse, so in the midst of all of the upheaval, we're going to sneak back into Anjou to settle a boundary dispute. Described as a complicated matter of marriage, inheritance, and business arrangements gone awry, we actually find this to be a simple enough problem. We have a successful arbitration and another happy patron. At the moment, I think Owen is pretty much waiting around in this region for the dust of the conflict here to settle, so we're going to head south and begin the process of raising a building. And we're just in time to see Brittany's army march north on the French army that was sieging Flanders. And so the Frankish Empire has a new empress, but I don't think that the troubles are over, because the only title that she holds other than the empire title itself is a single county. Her husband has almost 1,000 forces. They barely outnumber the king of West Francia, the former emperor, who I'm sure will want to get his title back, even though he is still in a war with Jorvik, and that isn't going very well at the moment. So I have no doubt that the chaos and upheaval that we have seen in this region will continue. As Judith tries to build a new France, we finish a new building for Duke Pepin's Spymaster. So Pepin was one of the main dukes that was actually involved in the war. I think he had the largest forces, a raid against the former emperor. We've put up this building. We've gotten 59 gold now. In all fairness, we don't need it. We have a lot of money, but we're going to pretend that we need it for the journey that we're just about to undertake. We are first going to begin the process, the lengthy process of learning the French language. Well, what will eventually become the French language. And instead of heading southwards, we're actually going to head in the direction of Brittany. Now, unfortunately, we've received some bad news about the direction that we actually wanted to take, and that is a very unexpected backtrack. Eoin is going to return at some stage. Once the plague is lifted from this region, he is going to return to Canterbury. I think his soul and his confidence have taken a bit of a beating, and he wants to return to Canterbury and recharge his spiritual batteries. For now, however, Eoin is going to rest and process the somewhat good news that has arrived from Ireland, that the war between the High King and Dublin has ended, and Oriel, Argyll, the seat of Christendom in Ireland, in Armagh, remains within Irish control. Thank you for joining me on this episode, and I hope that you will join me on the next one, because Eoin will need all of the spiritual aid that he can get for the task that lays ahead of him.